Hello there. So today I will be taking a look at the NECA AVP Mass Scar Predator. So first things first, we're going to be taking a look at the box. So the box is a blister style packaging. So here you can see the figure and some of the accessories. And down here there's a picture of Scar, and then the name of the figure, Mass Scar Predator, AVP, Aliens vs. Predator, a couple features, and a warning. Down here is nothing much except for the people who worked on the figure. And then on the back, it's another picture of Scar. The same thing on the front, Mass Scar, Alien vs. Predator, AVP, yeah. And then here there's a little sort of story here. Now you could pause right now and read it. And here shows the other figures on the line, which I all have, by the way. I have Ancient Warrior and Temple Guard. So that will be it for Mass Scar's box. Now let's take a look at the actual figure itself. So now this is Mass Scar out of the box, and I will honestly have to say, this figure is one of the most well sculpted and beautiful figures I have in terms of well sculpt and paint. Well, for one, this thing has a very nice paint to it, a very dark yet silverish paint. Like, as you can see, some of it is still not very dark, so there's still some silver poking out amidst all the wash over it, which I find to be really, really beautiful. And the mask as well. The mask, similar to Youngblood, looks very alike to, how do I say it? Looks very alike to the Jungle Hunter Predator. So that is something I really like about Mass Scar. Probably also explains why he was the main character of the movie, as he was the most reminiscent of the OG classic Predator. So yeah, as you can see, the mask, it's a very beautifully detailed mask with with the Yautja, with like the symbol that basically means that they're a blooded warrior. And I also like that it's a very bare silver with just that has a lot of markings and battle damage, with the very beautiful black wash over it. I also like the very silver eyes. Makes it pop among the very dark. Makes it pop in the rather dark figure. And then also the paint on the body. It's a really beautiful yellowish paint, which is very standard for these figures, but still pretty beautiful, I have to say. The combination of the dark brown, light brown, and the yellow works very, very well on the figure. Well, I do notice though that this guy is very much more on the brown side. As you can see, there's some yellow popping out here and there, but it's more really focused on the very dark, almost black like scheme on his overall, how do I say this, his overall sculpt. And yeah, there's also fishnet sculpted on it. These are not, I think fishnets are what they're called. They're not like they're not a cloth of anything. They're sculpted right into the figure itself. And to prove that this thing is authentic, you could take a look at the feet. As you can see, there are the copyright boots. The bootlegs do not have these. And I also noticed that mine has peg holes. I don't think. Never mind. I have a figure here nearby later for comparisons, and I never noticed that they had peg holes at the bottom. I might have to rewatch the Youngblood review to see if his also had. And yeah, I do notice that a lot of his paint seems to be a lot darker on the brown, strangely, compared to the other figures. So yeah, but still a very beautiful figure. I also like the spike foot on here. It looks really cool. I don't know what it's for though, but it does look cool. And also on the shin armor, I really like the design of the shin armor and the paint itself. Even though it's a shame that Serpent Hunter did not have this type of design, or he did not have a very armor design. I really like this type look. I do think though that the concrete Jungle Hunter Scarface has better shin armor than them. Looks really cool though. And as you can see, there's also these pieces. They're slightly flayed out. They're actually just sculpted in there. They're not really attached. I might have to glue this later. But yeah, there's these armor pieces here on the side well, if this were real, it's attached via this the strap, I mean. And the strap itself is just plain brown like this. Not too much detailing on it. Still sculpted well though. And then the shoulder pads, the very futuristic like shoulder pads. On the back, it's just more of the armor. As you can see, his is full body armor, unlike the others, which have split on one side. And yeah, the back, same, pretty much a lot, very similar to the rest of the body, just seems to be a very silver base like the Youngblood, and then with just a black wash all throughout it. Also, I really like how the back is, I think, yeah, no, that seems right. Yeah. So yeah, and on the back here there's some cloth, and this strangely has really good detailing. It's like brown with a darker brown type of wash, and there's also this. It seems to be supposedly to be some sort of leather on it. And same with the front, you could sort of see some of that loincloth underneath. And then this thing is, I do not know what they call this piece, but a lot of the Storm Collectibles ninjas, I think, also have this. Or is it just the Scorpion one? Not sure. But yeah, it's a really cool piece. It looks very futuristic, despite it supposedly being leather. It looks more like metal than anything. But yeah, like I said, one of the most beautifully sculpted and painted figures I own by far. I would say only second to a couple of other figures I have. But yeah, so that is it for the figure itself. Now let's take a look at the accessories. So for accessories, he does come with a decent amount, considering he's not on Ultimate Edition release. So yeah, so first he has multiple interchangeable hands. We already took a look at these. These are just the basic Aliens vs. Predator hands. They're just yellow with a bunch of good sculpting and brown overpaint, brown wash or additional paint on them. They're the same with every hand, and also forgot to mention the very black claws. And then he also has the retracted combi stick, which comes with a lot of the figures, but most of those that also do come with it have the extended version, and it's basic. They all have it. It's just the brown. It's just a copper and silver paint with. Yeah, it's just the same sculpt with the same exact paint scheme. And then over here he has the short sword, or dagger I should say, which does come with a lot of the other figures. In fact, all of them comes with this. Some of them may just have varying paint, but from what I've seen, they all look identical. No differences on them whatsoever. Still a cool piece. I don't really display them with this. It's mostly just right where it belongs, in the sheath. So yeah. And then he has his very extended, very long wrist blades with him. These are much longer than the one that comes with Youngblood. And they do look really cool, a very shredder-like design, and they do look deadly. It'll be painful to get caught up in this. But yeah, these are just very basic in paint as well, just silver, which can't really ask for much. They're just meant to be the blades. They're meant to be shiny. So yeah, and then this piece, which I don't really like talking about, since I very honestly do not like this. I absolutely despise this thing. It's the shuriken that surprisingly Scar used a lot in the movie, if I'm not mistaken. They use this a lot, but as an accessory, yeah, it's like maybe for display posing, or like for pictures maybe, but no. I don't really like this accessory, and it doesn't help the fact that they all come with it. But aside from that, it is sculpted nicely, and does have some copper paint here and there, but no other detail other than that. They are very sharp though, and not really fragile, but still do be careful. And then finally he has the Plasmacaster, which is very basic as well. Almost all of them have the same, all of them in fact have the same exact sculpt of the Plasmacaster, at least this part, the piece where it plugs in. So yeah, it's just the same exact Plasmacaster with the black wash and the copper there, and yeah, here, same thing. And it's also the more metal-ish color, so it doesn't really have a special tint to it, I do have to say. And lastly, there is the gun head, and this is the biggest out of all the gun heads, and it also looks, the gun head, like the actual caster itself, the thing that they used to shoot. A really cool piece, but yeah, pretty basic in design and sculpt. So yeah, well, it is obviously a very sculpted piece, a very well sculpted piece. It's nothing really noteworthy about it considering the line we're in. It's kind of like SH Figuarts reusing the Goku mold for a bunch of their other figures. So yeah, that is it for the accessories. Now I will show you how to put some of them on him. So over here I have Mask Scar. Now let's put on some of his accessories. So first, the fist, or the hands, I should say, you quite literally just plug them in. Easy as that. Same with the other side. And to pull them out, to pop them out, you just pull very gently, and they'll come right off. Now the short sword next. Now for the short sword, you just put it in like this. And I like to do, mainly when I display this, I prefer the sort of claw in the end here to be facing that direction, not there. It just looks better to me. And then for the retracted combi stick, there is a little there's a little clip here. You just clip it. It is very loose on some figures, including my mask scar. So yeah, it doesn't want to clip in. You do have to sort of find a sweet spot where it stays there very well. And then next up, I have the extended blades. So these are in a peg system. So you just see there are these little nudges. You just push them right in. You just push there. Easy as that. And then the plasma caster. So these things do come in separate pieces. So you just have to take this, and there's a little hole here. Okay, there, and then there's the peg. Drop that. You plug. You just push it in gently. Don't push it in as hard as I am. And there, it's articulated as well. And then to put it on, it's fairly simple. Since mine already has had it for a while, the hair has already been not automatically, but like, it's sort of already been pushed out of the way. So 2 pegs, one on top. I recommend doing the one on top first, and then the one on the bottom. And then there. That is mask scar geared up. Oops. So yeah, now let's move on to height comparisons. So now for height comparisons. So to measure mask scar is around 8.75 inches, nearly 9. So here are a couple of figures. Here are 2 figures I'm going to compare them to. So firstly is the usual one I compare almost all of them to, which is Serpent Hunter. And the second figure I'm going to compare him to is Ancient Warrior. As you can see, since they are all from the same line and use a very similar body mold, they are all very equal, not very equal, but they're all very similar in height. So yeah, that is it for the height comparisons. So now for the last part of this, which is going to be the articulation. So first we're going to go with the head. He can look up a bit. Can look down a bit as well, but not too much. He could tilt his head side to side decently, and could also look from side to side decently. Now for the arms, because of these things, the articulation is going to be a bit hindered. They are rubber though, so they could go a bit farther than normal. So this is about the max both arms can go. And then he also has a bicep swivel, double jointed elbows, and a gauntlet swivel. And then as for the hands are on a ball joint, so they just go in circles. And then as for the torso, there's not really much going on here because it's very much hindered due to both this and this. So he can't even, so with both torso articulations, he can't even look down. He can't even go forward that much, nor can he go back that much. He can't even move much. He can only move the top side to side, and then he can just barely twist. So not really that good in that department. He can kick up surprisingly well, but it does tend to make that piece look very ugly. And then also thigh swivel, and he could go side to side. For some reason, this is the okay. That's why. All right. So he can go kick to the side very well, and kick to the back as well. And he could kick to the back surprisingly well. So he does indeed have some very good torso articulation. He has upper knee swivel, double jointed knees. Okay, mine is a bit... Okay, I think I pushed this one a little too far, but yeah. No lower knee swivel. And for ankles, you could go to the side a bit, outward a bit, or inward and outward. You could go up a bit, and not really down. So he does have some really good articulation, do I say. So now, time for final thoughts. Is he worth it? Absolutely. Especially as a display piece, and if you're a hardcore Predator fan, he's one of the grails, I would say. How is he worth the money? Not really. Well, I did get lucky. I got him for pretty cheap and brand new, surprisingly. I got him for about the equivalent of around 60 or a bit less US dollars. Yes, so he was incredibly cheap, surprisingly, compared to the others that I've seen. But to be fair, though, the figure did look a bit old already. If you saw in the beginning, the clamshell was already yellow because of how old the figure was. So yeah, he is a very cool figure. One that I think you should get if you're a hardcore Predator fan. But if you're a casual collector, don't get him. And there are bootlegs of the guy around, so if you don't have a problem with bootlegs, then go get the bootleg, since the authentic, I will say from experience, is already getting very expensive. But I did get lucky and I got most of them as either loose or just got really good deals. So yeah, so that will be it for this review. Thank you very much for watching.